And a reminder, the first 30 minutes of this podcast are available on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Google, and many of the major platforms. The full podcast is available at www.patreon.com/SRBmedia. SRBmedia.
Good evening, Gabby.
Good evening, TC, and welcome all to our weekly podcast, The Curran View, with the idol of Hillsborough, Mr. Terry Curran. Steady away. What kind of week you had, son?
Oh, it's been hectic. I've been following Trump, as you know I do, with this court case, so it's been hectic for me. I want to wind a few people up.
Yes, Stormzy's lost the case. What's her name? Stormzy, the American adult star, or shall we say actress?
What? Stormy Daniels.
Not Stormzy. Stormzy's the one that looks like Lukaku, ain't it? That sings and shoes. Stormy Daniels. They have some funny names, don't they?
Well, she's a porn star.
Yeah, exactly. Fair play to the Trump, but there you go. He's had some magic moments with her, or allegedly not with her. But what magic moments have you sourced for us this week in football?
As you know, again, we repeat it every week. I mean, how do you pull goals out, or pick one out of them all? But I'm nicking one of yours, but I did see it. Ethan, what's the kid at Brighton now? What's his surname?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
I'm not sure. There were two great goals.
I want the one where he let it go through his legs and he flicked it in.
Oh, that's the
young lad, 18-year-old.
Yeah, he's the Irish fella, ain't I?
Yes, that's right.
I did post it up. I can't remember his name, and
it's Ethan. It'll come to me in a bit.
Something like that. Yeah, he's the Irish boy, isn't he? That England want to try and nick.
Well, for a young kid, the audacity, the confidence to try it, you know. So don't say if you're good enough, you throw him in. And looking at him, he looks more than good enough. He looks as though he's going to be a bloody superstar.
And Brighton look more than good enough, don't they? The other goal, I posted up both of Brighton's goals because I thought the composure from the boy that scored the other goal was quite phenomenal. And they are a side that's, FA Cup semi-final. They look as though they could get into the Champions League. I mean, Brighton really, a great example of how you can evolve your club and your team without spending ridiculous amounts of money if you just do it properly.
Give a coach who believes in the players.
Correct.
Right, to get the best out of the players.
Correct.
Cloughy was a prime example of that with Derby County.
Absolutely.
And Nottingham Forest.
Yep.
And we all go on about, well, that were then. It's now and it's all different. No, it's not different. It's about getting the best out of your workforce, whatever job it is. And if those people want to come into work and happy coming into work, they're not even bothered about doing a little bit of overtime. And in football case, they want to go in and they want to be happy. They want to train. They're looking forward to training.
Yeah.
And that's what he's done. I mean, I looked at Potter there, and Potter did terrific at Brighton.
Yes.
But when you look at him, they score a lot more goals under the Brighton manager than what Potter did. I mean, it's incredible because Potter's going to walk away 13 million. We can say 10 million a minimum, can't we?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yeah. How would he have thought, not being an elite player, earning that kind of money in his lifetime? It's not an easy job. It's a very difficult job, and it's a pressurized job. But it's and he deserves it, because if you're going to give somebody a 5-year contract, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's never won won anything. Look, I advocated to give him a chance. You look at him, he plays some good stuff. But I've always told you all, it's like anything else. You've got to be able to handle the players, the big players, especially the ones what's not in the team.
You identify that from the get-go, from day one too. We are going to be talking about what's next for English managers, because there has been some breaking news tonight about Frank. So we're going to be talking a little bit later in the podcast about that. You did reference how did he think when he first come into the game. His debut in professional football, I believe, was at my team, Birmingham City. I think then he moved on to Stoke, but he did play a few games, and I remember watching Graham Potter as left back, a decent kid, but never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that he'd get a £10 million payoff as a football manager, and good luck to him. And as I say, we're going to be talking about that later. My magic moments, I turned on the game, Napoli versus Milan, and I turned on for one reason, to watch Special K, this Georgian superstar. I looked at him a couple of weeks ago when I watched the game that he played in its entirety. I've seen bits and pieces of him before, and I thought, I'm going to have a look at this kid. I watched him. I thought, you know what? He really, really reminds me of Jack Grealish. He plays that kind of way. I think he's a fabulous player, but it was the AC Milan trio that took my breath away. They won 4-0. I'm not sure if you caught the game, but what a game it was.
No, I didn't see it. I don't watch much Italian football.
No, you know, no, you don't.
But I do like the individuals. When I say individuals, I don't mean playing as an individual, because without playing as a unit and as a group for each other, you're never going to win now.
No.
But I see some great, outstanding Italian footballers, but I just don't like the way how they play football. It's so too negative. I always say to Thomas when he has little bet builder things, I said always put them Italian in for draws, because a lot of times, their games are not dour draws, but it's like a chess game. Somebody waiting to make a move, and they could wait 2 or 3 seconds longer than any other European teams or players passing the ball. So I find it very difficult to watch me.
Absolutely. But I did watch that game, and I thought AC Milan were phenomenal. I've seen 3 teams this season that have taken my breath away. I've watched Napoli take my breath away.
Yeah.
Manchester City.
I've been impressed with them, because when I've watched them, it's been in the European Cup.
Yeah.
I watched them obviously twice against Liverpool, and they practically destroyed Liverpool.
Absolutely. I mean, what a team Napoli look. What a team Man City are. And this was the first time, really, that I looked at AC Milan this season. I thought, oh my days. AC Milan's performance was the best performance I've seen this season. They were phenomenal. Their first goal was scored by Rafa Leo. And I thought, oi, who's he? He's again another brilliant Portuguese player. But the goal that was created was from a Moroccan Spanish lad named Brahim Diaz. Now, I went onto the Facebook page of AC Milan, and I commented and I said, please could you take that back? I've seen the pass from Diaz, which is phenomenal, but please could you take it back from the moment that Diaz receives the ball, because what he'd done with the ball round about the halfway line was quite phenomenal. And I've watched and watched and watched again, and it really is just sublime, magical talent. He did score the second goal with almost a Puskas-like. He feigned, and the players committed himself. He's come back on himself, and he smashed it. A little bit of a deflection, but there you go, 2-0. And then the fella, Alexis Salmakers, Belgium boy, I didn't know anything about him. Absolutely waltzed through the Napoli defence to make it 4. So I looked at those 3 players, and 100% I'll be watching them again. And next week we won't be doing a live podcast on Wednesday, because I'm going to be watching Milan versus Napoli. I won't be watching Chelsea in Madrid. I'll be watching that game of the 2 Italian giants, because that is going to be a cracking game too.
Well, listening to how you spoke about it, I'm going to watch it, because obviously I have noticed, like with Napoli, that they do play some good football.
Yeah.
So that stuck in my head when, if they're on, I will watch them.
I mean, they're about 15 points clear in Serie A as well.
I know they are. Which
Newcastle,
you
by the
find
way,
very
just taking the
difficult.
lead.
Very difficult to believe when you think, Juventus and the two Milan teams.
Yeah. And
I mean,
Milan champions.
last time they produced anything like that was when Maradona were there.
Absolutely, and they've got a player. I mean, I never liken a player to anyone because I think that's unfair. But when you look at this, and I can't pronounce the kid's name, he's a Georgian international. I call him Special K. His first name begins with K. His second name begins with K. And he is a player. And I'd watch him all day long. And as Simon Jordan would say, twice on a Sunday. I think he's a fantastic player. Jack Grealish's performance for Manchester City and Manchester City as a whole, destroying Liverpool. I did look at Connor Chaplin's goal for Derby County. For Ipswich against Derby County. I thought it was tremendous. We're going to be looking at League One watch a little bit later in the podcast. Ipswich do look a decent outfit. And Jamie Reed's goal for Stevenage against Northampton. And before we leave our magic moments, Bertie's goal for Villa last night to win it. What a way to win it in the dying seconds of the game. And I thought that the fella from Leicester that scored the goal, Harvey Barnes, the way he took the ball into his stride, outstripped Ashley Young and just bagged it. I thought that was tremendous talent and ability. But there's been so many too. It's been a great week again of magic moments in football.
Yeah, like I said, it's very difficult to pick these.
Yeah, it is.
You feel as though you're doing unjust to the other goals what's scored, really. But it's something we do, and we have to pick one out, and we have to stick by it.
But again, this is what football for me is all about. And when Diaz got that ball, I'm like, oh my days, what's he done there? Wow. And then I thought, Mike, what a pass. And I'm literally watching the game live and just thinking, please score. Please score, because if you do score, it will be on repeat. If you don't, it won't be on repeat. And for me, that's the way that kids learn their games, by watching these games of football. I used to watching Match of the Day. We didn't have the coverage when I was a kid in those days, but if the goal isn't scored, it isn't repeated. But the goal was scored, and it'll be repeated time and time again, because it was a phenomenal bit of skill. And it reminded me very much how Maradona used to do that twist, that turn. He'd punch the ball into space, attack that space, and then either go on and score a worldie or put a fantastic pass through for a teammate. So well done to AC Milan. They do look an absolutely fantastic outfit and a dark horse for the Champions League.
Well, once you get to the semi-finals, I've told you, any one of those four teams could win it. I mean, I've expected Manchester City, like a lot of people have, for Manchester City to win it.
But
I always say to you, once you get to that semi-final, is any one of those four teams could win it. Anyone, whoever it is.
I posted up a couple of weeks ago, Man City Napoli final. Now, having watched AC Milan and been absolutely blown away how brilliant they are. I mean, I can't really describe, words don't describe how brilliant AC Milan were. I'd rather play Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, or any of these teams than AC Milan.
Well, it's going to be very interesting, that's for sure. I'm sticking with Manchester City line, but it's going to be very interesting.
Absolutely, T. Let's just briefly talk before we go into Book Corner about our SRBMedia merchandise. If you go into all the www.srbmedia.co.uk/merch, we got some lovely merchandise. Mugs and mats, Terry Curran, the poem mug and the podcast mug. We're going to be looking at getting into some t-shirts as well. Chris has also worked today on your after dinner speaking flyer and poster.
Yes,
which
I
looks
thanked him
fantastic.
for it. Yes, it looks fantastic.
And we've also got merchandise with Alan Hudson Hudson 73, a T-shirt that we're working on, Hudson 74, in connection with the podcast that we've done with Alan over his last 12 months at Chelsea and his first 12 months at Stoke City. Both of those podcasts are out now. My Life, My Music, our regular podcast with Alan Hudson, all the w's.patreon.com/SRBmedia is the easiest way and the best way that you can access those podcasts. But the merch page that Chris has put together is absolutely fantastic. It looks the bomb, doesn't it, T?
And there's a link there which is so making it easy for everyone if they want to purchase something. It's plain and simple for them to do it.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of it. It needs to be plain and simple where people can just click the link and they can purchase. And that leads us nicely onto Book Corner Association with
Just before you go on to
myfootballbooks.com.
Book Corner, Gav,
Yeah.
I want to mention another up-and-coming Argentinian player.
Yeah, go on.
I don't compare him to Messi because he'll be his own player. But if he's half as good as Messi, he's going to be a superstar for Argentina. His name is Thiago Almada. He's a 17-year-old. Have you heard of him?
We've done him the last two podcasts too. He's the fella that scored the free kick for Atlanta, and he's the one that scored his debut goal when Messi scored against Panama.
That's right. This kid is going to be a little superstar.
I know he is.
You know, they produce players because they allow them to express themselves.
Yep.
That's another reason why we never seem to, because Jack's always been under pressure. Well, over there in them countries, they let them go and express themselves.
Yeah.
You know, if Jack has a game when he hadn't touched the ball that much because somebody stopped him getting the ball, when he wants to, he can play, but he's not consistent enough. That's, you know, it's so unpredictable in this, or not unpredictable, it's so predictable what the media say about our good players.
Absolutely. I put a post up yesterday where I'd posted that, you know, we're eulogising over Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, Calvin Phillips, and abroad they have got absolutely superstars that have got technical ability that's far and away advanced to anything that we've got apart from Jack, Phil Foden, James Maddison. But for some reason, we've always loved the work rate player, the box to box, and we won't win anything because we don't play our best players. It's incredibly stupid. It's an English disease, but that's where we've always been.
And when the young kids with these academies, you know, they stop them expressing themselves.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's so naive.
Pass. I want them to pass, and I want them to move the ball quickly.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in that. But when the kids just let them express themselves. Let them express themselves.
I remember doing a podcast with Peter and Pete, when he was there at Villa doing a bit of coaching, and he was watching them, and he said all they used to do is just pass. And he stopped it and he says, do any of you take a player on? Can any of you dribble with the ball? Can any of you drop your shoulder and make something happen? And sadly, that's what we've done. We've just over the years created robotic players.
To be honest,
and I just look at it,
I said it years ago. I'll repeat myself. I don't want to say it because I want the British managers, English managers to do well, but we are losing our football. We're losing our identity altogether, aren't we? It's just
we are, yeah.
You know, it's just an incredible scenario what's happening to English football.
I mean, I remember when, you know, they were saying that Jack wasn't doing very well and Man City were looking to move him on in the transfer window back in January, and AC Milan were a team mooted. If I was Jack Grealish, I would have looked at that team there, AC Milan, and thought, do you know what? If you want me to move to that team, I'm more than happy to go and play there. I think City are great, but I tell you what, the ability of some of these players, it's just incredible. But again, we don't recognise. Uddy always says, if we fell over a great player, we wouldn't recognise it because we just don't produce these players because of the English disease, and it just is inherent in our game, and we wonder why we always fail. But it is what it is, and all we can do is watch these teams, watch these players, eulogise about them, to put them in our magic moments. And I'll guarantee you, most of them won't be English, but they will be a foreign national technical ability players that have just got sublime ability.
Give me that any day of the week with a team what will play as a unit,
Yeah.
play together, and make no mistake. Not only will you enjoy watching them play, that team will win major trophies.
Absolutely. So we did mention about our merchandise, our merch page, srbmedia.co.uk/merch. And we've got a book that we're selling in our shop as well. Give Me the Ball, My Take on a Beautiful Game by Terry Curran with John Brinley. So guys, if you want to purchase Terry's book, either go onto Terry's pages, his social media pages, and purchase it directly through Terry, or go onto our merch page, click the link, and purchase the book, and Terry will send it to you. If you ask him nicely, he might even sign one.
I'll always sign the books, Gabby. Always.
What a fantastic bit of business. And Give Me the Ball, a great book, TC, your second book. And you've sold it in a slightly different way. And I was explaining to Chris today that that is the way forward. If you can do it how Terry Curran has done it, rather than the way some other players do it. Because after all, it's their career, it's their words, it's their story, and they should be the one getting the lion's share of the money.
Well, why should Amazon get the lion's share of it? Why should the football club get the lion's share
100%.
of it? If people are brave enough to go outside Nottingham Forest or Sheffield Wednesday or in Everton or in Arsenal, players, what's done a book, you don't have to put it in shops. You'll sell as many if you go outside the ground selling
Absolutely.
it. You don't mind the club making money, but when they want to make maybe half of it, a little bit more than half of it, then it's not worth doing.
And I think that you're being very generous when you're saying the clubs would like to make half of the money, because my experience of football clubs, they want to make almost 8/10 of the money that the book is worth. So well done, TC. Well done, Chris, for getting our merch page up. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sorry, T, what was you going to say something?
I was going to say, I want to thank Chris because I asked him to do that photo for the after dinner speaking. And it's brilliant. I'm really pleased with that. He set that page up, and where I can sell my book on as well as me selling it. So I really appreciate him doing that, because as you know, and as I know, both of you are busy and you both put yourselves out to do things like this, to get things out, not just on me, but I mean, you get out to as many people as you can. You're always looking for players to come onto your podcasts and everything. So to both of you, I want to thank pair of you.
Yeah, I mean, Chris does an absolutely fantastic job. We speak daily. How much time do you think I've got? He will always say to me, just make some time and do it. And I spoke to him today, and he said...
That's a sign of a great friendship.
Absolutely. And he said, I wonder if TC likes it. I said, I'll phone him up now. I was in a customer's house and I was just making the bed. And I said, I'll phone him up now. And I was posting something on a group. I went onto Facebook, and there it was. You'd posted. So I phoned him up. I said, I don't need to phone up till he likes it, because he's already posted it.
I'm sure I sent him a message.
Yeah, I think you probably did, but we were just talking at that time.
Yeah.
And he's elated because he really enjoys it. And if it wasn't for Chris, we wouldn't be doing the podcast. We wouldn't have SRBMedia. He does a phenomenal job. And as I say, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing anything that what I do.
Yeah, brilliant.
Barton's Army was a book that was recommended by Andy this week. And on this day, which will be Saturday this year, T, the 8th of April, 1937. If we go back to 1937, Anthony Edward Barton was born. Tony Barton was born, and Tony Barton, Barton's Army, Conquering Europe with Aston Villa, written by Colin Abbott and the Aston Villa Army, forward by...
1981, that wasn't it?
It was 1982 when Villa conquered Europe. They won the Football League for the first time in 71 years. Yeah, at Arsenal in May 1971, and then in 81, and then in 1982 they conquered Europe. And I've been looking at the socials of Aston Villa, that crowd that they took to Leicester City last night, and when they start singing the LA song about conquering Europe in 1982, and that all comes back to Barton's Army. Unbelievably, in the February of 1982, Ron Saunders walked out, Tony Barton walked in. I don't think people really realise the job that Tony Barton did. And to be fair, I mean, as a non-Aston Villa supporter, I didn't, but going out to various functions and doing podcasts with Tony Morley and Dennis Mortimer and, one or two other Aston Villa players of that time, what come back to me was how influential Tony Barton was in bringing pretty much every player to Aston Villa. In terms of, and most of those players, Ron Saunders never watched them play. It was Tony Barton that identified them. His recruitment was phenomenal, and I guess fitting that he actually took them over the line. He was the manager when they won the European Cup.
How good must he be, the Saunders, for walking out?
Absolutely. Because he walked out and he went to Birmingham City.
That was incredible, because he just won the league with Aston Villa, really.
Tell me about it.
So, I mean, something must have gone off between him and Doug Ellis. It must have done.
Ellis, it was Bendel at the time. It was the Bendel family. Yeah, Warren Ellis. Right. Doug wasn't there at the time when they won the European. That's why at Villa Park, Doug never had any reminder of winning the league and the European Cup at Villa Park. It's only been recently that Villa have acknowledged with the new ownership at Aston Villa, but Doug never recognised them at all. In fact, while Doug was there, I don't think you'd have, if you wasn't a Villa supporter, realised that Villa actually did win the European Cup in 1982. But I think that was more for Doug's ego rather than anything else. But phenomenal side, great team.
You think you'd want to push it, wouldn't you? Because it's a great achievement. In fact, I've just got a message tonight from Anne Stringer, who bought a couple of those what they call them, mats.
Oh yeah, the coaches.
Team mats.
Yeah,
she's received them today. She's highly pleased with them. So
lovely.
Thank you, Anne Stringer, for buying them.
Yes,
or purchasing them.
Absolutely. And guys, any of you that want to purchase it, just go onto our www.srbmedia.co.uk/merch, and you can purchase anything that's in our shop, including Terry Curran's book. But Barton's Army, a fantastic book written by Colin Abbott, and he's got his latest book coming out shortly, Charlie Aiken, story of Charlie Aiken. So that'll be a great read. One of Villa's greatest stalwarts and players, absolute legend at Aston Villa, and also played for the New York Cosmos. So that promises to be a fantastic read as well, too.
Listen, all these books that you put on there, they'll not get a better chance to have them not published. So what I'm looking for, Gabby,
publicised. Yeah.
We've got a great podcast going. How long we've been going now?
250?
50?
This is our 153rd The Curran View. We must have been doing 3 seasons, 4 seasons, maybe.
So at least they're getting mentioned once a week, aren't they?
We have given mentions, you have, Chris, to hundreds.
It's incredible.
Hundreds and
I hope they
books.
appreciate it.
Hundreds and hundreds of books, and many of them that I buy, and then I do a podcast with Andy probably now once every 6 weeks, 2 months, where we look at books, because Andy promotes such fantastic football books as well, and I just scratch the surface. But the second book, and my first one that I've looked at this week, Fallen Idol. An idol isn't spelled as you would in Pop Idol. It's idol, IDLE. Fighting back from the booze, swindles and drugs that ripped my life apart. Peter Marinello. I squandered my talent. I pissed most of it up the wall. I'm the guy who wrote the manual of how not to do it. I mean, bankruptcy, gangsters, accusations of attempted murder, dealings with his wife's mental illness and his son's heroin addiction. Peter Marinello tells his frank and fearless story of one of football's great survivors. I've just started reading this book. What an absolute fantastic...
SRBMedia.